Julia Roberts may return in a sequel Pretty Woman 2: A Second Chance. Coming December 22. 5. A love story can survive time. But can it survive life? When Pretty Woman first came out in 1990, it wasn't expected to become a classic. It was a small romantic movie about a wealthy businessman, Edward Lewis, who falls in love with a strong, spirited woman named Vivian Ward. But the magic wasn't in the story alone, it was in their connection. Julia Roberts didn't just play Vivian. She became a symbol of hope. Richard Gere didn't just play Edward. He became every woman's dream of a gentle man who chooses love over power. Audiences felt something rare, honesty. Vivian wasn't perfect. Edward wasn't either. But together they were beautiful. Years passed. Hollywood changed. Stories became louder, bigger, faster, but none could replace the charm of Pretty Woman. Fans watched it again and again. Lines from the movie became part of life. She rescues him right back. I want the fairy tale. People never stopped asking what happened after the fairy tale. Did Vivian and Edward stay together? Did their love survive the real world? Or did life, like it so often does, pull them apart? For years, the studio avoided the question. There were talks about a sequel, but nothing happened. Julia Roberts moved on to other roles. Richard Gere drifted away from mainstream Hollywood. The dream faded, but it didn't die, because real love stories never truly end, they wait. And now, in late 2025, a quiet storm has begun. Multiple insiders claim that a script was approved earlier this year. A script that brings Vivian and Edward back. But this time, their love story won't be about fairy tales. It will be about real life, a source close to the project said. This isn't a copy of the first film. It's a story about forgiveness, lost time, and the chance to choose love again. Imagine the emotional weight behind that. Vivian, after all these years, standing at a new crossroads in life. Edward facing his own past mistakes. The red dress is gone. The Hollywood Boulevard boots are gone. Life has changed, but hearts remember. The rumored title, Pretty Woman 2: A Second Chance. A second chance not just at love, but at purpose. Fans online are already emotional. Some are excited. Some are scared. Please don't ruin the original. I've waited my whole life for this. If this is real, I'll cry. And maybe that's the reason this story matters now more than ever. Because today, the world is tired of fake love. Tired of short stories with no soul. Tired of endings that don't mean anything. People want hope again. People want a story that makes them feel again, but behind this comeback lies a powerful truth. This is not just the return of Vivian Ward. This is the return of Julia Roberts. And that is where the story really begins. *, time changes people. Time changes hearts. But sometimes, fate waits patiently. In Pretty Woman 2: A Second Chance, the story doesn't begin with a kiss or a fairy tale ending. It begins with silence. A long, painful silence between two people who once promised each other forever, and then disappeared from each other's lives. Vivian Ward did not stay a fairy tale princess. After Edward left her with a life of possibilities, she didn't waste it. She built something real. Something powerful. She now runs a foundation in Los Angeles that helps young women escape poverty, abuse, and loneliness, the very life she once fought to escape. She has become a voice of hope, a strong woman with purpose and compassion. But behind her smile lies a quiet wound, one love she never forgot. Edward. Lewis changed too, but not in the way we expect. He built a life filled with success, power, and global influence. But while he was winning business battles, he was losing himself. His empire became his prison. He became isolated, guarded, and afraid of emotional risk. The man who once climbed a fire escape in the rain for love now hides in a penthouse above the world, afraid to feel again. So what happened? Why did they walk away from each other after choosing love at the end of Pretty Woman? Sources close to the rumored script reveal a plot twist. Edward left, not because he stopped loving Vivian, but because he believed she deserved better. He was afraid he would destroy her future with his cold world of business and pressure. He walked away to protect her, but broke both of their hearts in the process. For over 30 years. They never spoke again. Until now. The story begins when a mysterious event forces their paths to cross again. Some reports say it is a business deal. Others say it is a legal crisis involving Vivian's foundation. But one rumor stands out: Edward Lewis is dying. He has been hiding a serious illness, and with his time running out, he wants to fix the only mistake that ever mattered, leaving Vivian. Their reunion is not sweet. It is painful, awkward, and full of unspoken history. Vivian demands the truth. Edward struggles to speak. Old love rises, but so do old scars. Vivian: why now, Edward? Why after all these years? Edward: because I finally realized what I lost. But this is not just a love story anymore. It is a story about growth. Vivian is no longer a girl who needs saving. Edward is no longer a man chasing power. The dynamic has changed. She is strong. He is vulnerable. And for the first time, they must face the past to earn their future along the way. The film explores themes of second chances, forgiveness, emotional healing, and the courage to choose love again, no matter how late it seems. The streets of Los Angeles return. The elegant hotels return. Even a familiar melody returns. It must have been love, but now played slower, sadder, more mature. Just like their love. But the question at the heart of this film is deeper than before. Can two people who lost themselves find each other again before time runs out? Rumored supporting characters include a young woman from Vivian's foundation who reminds her of her past and challenges her to trust again. Edward's estranged son who never knew about Vivian and carries a cold heart full of resentment. Kit DeLuca, Vivian's wild best friend from the original movie, who now returns with wisdom and loyalty. But the most emotional part of the story is not about romance at all. It is about redemption. Some stories live only on screen. Others live in the people who bring them to life. And that is why Pretty Woman 2 a second chance is not just a film comeback, it is Julia Roberts' story too. Before she became Hollywood's America's sweetheart, Julia Roberts was a young woman with a dream and a fire inside her eyes. When she played Vivian Ward in Pretty Woman, she didn't just act, she opened her soul. Her laughter in the jewelry store scene, her raw tears in the opera scene, her shy smile in the limo at the end, those moments weren't just performance. They were life. They were truth, and the world felt it. After Pretty Woman, Julia didn't just rise, she became a legend. She delivered hit after hit: My Best Friend's Wedding, Notting Hill, Erin Brockovich, and so many more. She became the face of movie romance. She didn't need explosions, spaceships, or CGI. All she needed was a moment, a pause, a look, and she could make hearts tremble. But then something changed. Hollywood shifted. Romantic dramas lost their magic. Superheroes and franchises took over, and Julia slowly stepped away. She chose family over fame. She chose peace over pressure. The bright lights of Hollywood dimmed from her life, not because she was forgotten, but because she walked away from what no longer felt real. She once said in an interview, "Fame is not the truth. Real life is quieter, kinder, deeper." And so she disappeared, not completely, but enough to make the world feel her absence. She made a few films, appeared in a few series, but the Julia Roberts era seemed to close quietly. Her fans waited, but she remained silent. Some believed she was done. Some believed she had nothing left to prove. But those who truly understood her believed something else. She would return when the story was worth it. And now, after years of waiting, the silence is breaking, because Pretty Woman 2 is not just another movie script, is a reflection of Julia's own journey. Just like Vivian, Julia had a beginning full of struggle. Just like Vivian, she found success through courage and heart. And just like Vivian, she stepped away from fantasy to build something real. Imagine Julia stepping into the role of Vivian again, not as the young dreamer, but as a woman shaped by life. A woman who has loved, lost, learned, and grown. A woman who carries wisdom, not just beauty. Power, not just charm. Strength, not just innocence. Fans aren't excited because this is another sequel. They're excited because this feels personal, real, emotional. It feels like Julia is returning not to Hollywood, but to herself, there are already whispers among film insiders that Julia cried during the first reading of the script, that she told producers, if I do this, it has to mean something. And it will. Because Pretty Woman 2 gives Vivian a second chance. And maybe, just maybe, it gives Julia one too. A chance not to restart her career, but to redefine it. To tell the kind of story only she can tell, a story with heart. If she accepts this role, it won't be about money. It won't be about fame. It will be about legacy. About giving the world one more reason to believe in real storytelling again. She will not return as a pretty face. She will not return as a Hollywood icon. She will return as a woman, honest, brave, and beautifully human. Her smile once lit up the world. Now, her truth might heal it. Because sometimes life gives us one last chance, not to change the past, but to honor it, and this film may be that chance. News travels fast in Hollywood, but this news traveled through hearts first. The moment whispers of Pretty Woman 2 a second chance reached the public, the internet did not react, it erupted. Overnight, social media transformed into a river of emotion. Tears, memories, nostalgia, excitement, even fear, because this wasn't just another sequel announcement. This was the return of a world people had held inside them for years. Across the globe, people shared stories, where they were when they first watched Pretty Woman, who they watched it with, and what the story meant to them. For some, the film wasn't just a romance. It was hope during a lonely time. It was a reminder that love could be gentle, that broken hearts could heal, that life could surprise you. One comment read, I watched Pretty Woman with my mom before she passed away. If they make a sequel, I'll watch it in her memory. Another said, this was the first movie that made me believe I was worthy of love, even if I wasn't perfect. And thousands more echoed the same feeling. This story is personal. Film critics are already calling it the most emotional reunion in film history. Media outlets are debating if modern audiences are ready for a slow, meaningful love story again, one without cheap drama, but full of quiet pain and emotional truth. Some question if a sequel is even necessary. Others ask, what if this becomes bigger than the original? But not everyone is ready to celebrate. Many fans are afraid. What if they destroy the magic? What if the sequel ruins the ending we love? These questions are real, authentic, because when a story is sacred, people fear change. They don't want cheap nostalgia. They want meaning. They want something true, and that is exactly why this sequel holds power, not because it wants to replay the past, but because it wants to respect it. This is not a story about fairy tales anymore. It is about what happens after the fairy tale, after life wears down your heart, after time takes away your dreams, after reality breaks the promises of youth. It asks one question that every human being feels inside, but is often too afraid to say out loud. Is it ever too late to love again? And that question has drawn millions of people back to this story across generations. Young audiences who never saw the original in theaters are discovering it for the first time. Old fans are returning with their own families, ready to feel again. The energy is real. The emotion is real. The longing is real. Online forums turned into confession pages. People began sharing lost loves, people they walked away from, letters they never sent, words they wish they could say. Suddenly, Pretty Woman 2 became more than a movie. It became a mirror of unfinished love. Polls show that this is now one of the most anticipated emotional films of 2025, even before it is officially announced. Studios know they are holding a storm in their hands. Actors know that stepping into these roles means stepping into history, and somewhere, quietly, Julia Roberts must feel it too, the weight of the world waiting for her. The return of Vivian Ward is not just a cinematic event. It is a cultural wave. A love letter to those who believe that time can pass, mistakes can be made, but hearts can still find their way home. And so we stand here, in between past and future, holding our breath. Will Edward and Vivian reunite for real? Will love be brave enough to try again? Will this story bring back something Hollywood lost a long time ago, pure emotion? One day soon, that answer will find us. Until then, the world waits. Time does many things. It builds and destroys. It teaches and tests. It gives and takes. But in the end, time reveals the truth about who we are and who we were always meant to love, and that is why Pretty Woman 2, A Second Chance has captured the world before even a single frame has been filmed. Because deep inside every one of us, there is an unfinished story. A dream we packed away. A love we walked away from. A promise we never got to keep. This sequel is not simply a return to a beloved story, it is a return to feeling. For years, Hollywood moved faster, louder, bigger, but somewhere along the way, it forgot the one thing that makes a story unforgettable: heart. And now, one film, one legend is about to remind the world why love stories survive forever, the meaning behind the return if the rumors are true. Pretty Woman 2 is not just a film about Vivian and Edward. It is a film about every person who ever wondered, what if I had another chance? What if I could go back not to change the past but to heal it? What if love doesn't end when time passes but waits for us to be brave enough to return to it? Vivian Ward is no longer waiting to be rescued. She is a woman who stands tall on her own. Edward Lewis is no longer a man hiding behind money. He is a man learning to fight for something real. Their reunion is not about fixing what was broken. It is about becoming strong enough to face the truth. Their story will not be easy. It will not be perfect. It will be painful, raw, honest. It will hurt. And that is why it will matter, because real love is not about fairy tales. It is about courage. It is about showing up after time, after scars, after silence, and saying, I still choose you. The world is waiting. The film world is silent, but the people are not. The internet is filled with one sentence repeated again and again: make this real. Fans don't want special effects. They don't want big action. They don't want glitter. They want truth. They want Julia Roberts. They want Richard Gere. They want closure. And more than anything, they want to feel that kind of love again. Already, fan-made posters have gone viral. Tribute videos have millions of views. Hashtags like hashtag Pretty Woman 2, hashtag Second Chance, and hashtag Return of Vivian are spreading across TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. People are begging not for entertainment, but for something rare, a story with a soul, and so the journey begins. If this movie is truly coming in December 2025, then what we are witnessing right now is not a rumor, it is the beginning of a moment in cinematic history. A moment that comes once in a generation. A moment that reminds us why stories were created, not just to escape life, but to understand it. This film won't just revisit an old love story. It will pull every heart into a journey of rediscovery. And when the credits roll, people won't clap for a movie. They will cry for what it helped them remember, because somewhere, deep inside, we all carry a quiet hope that real love deserves a second chance.